Welcome back to Grim Tapes. Tonight we begin a brand new horror saga, Gen Z. The year is 2050. The world broken. A virus wiped out 80% of humanity, and what rose in its place is something far worse. This isn't just survival, it's war. And in the slums of what's left, one teen named Ace Maestro is about to rise through blood, betrayal, and a whole lot of brain-hungry freaks. This is not your average zombie story. This is rage, this is chaos, this is Gen Z. Let's begin.
They promised us forever. In 2037, a biotech company named Nexava stood on a global stage and told the world we could beat death. They called it Elysium, a pill, a shot, a promise. It wasn't just anti-aging. It repaired the brain, erased pain, reversed diseases we'd spent centuries trying to cure. It made the blind see again, made the paralyzed walk, the dying live. They said it was safe, tested, perfect, and we believed them. By 2039, a quarter of humanity was on Elysium, and by 2041, the world had ended. The first cases were subtle, people repeating conversations they hadn't heard, waking up miles from home, writing names on walls they'd never seen before. Then they changed. Not like the dead come back, but like the mind reached too far. Neural pathways growing like tumors. The infected began mimicking others, voices, gestures, even old memories. They weren't zombies. They were echoes, stitched together ghosts of what we used to be. They called them shades, and inside their skulls, crystallized neural cores, remnants of the Elysium therapy gone haywire, glowing stones filled with fragmented consciousness, the only valuable thing left in this dead world. Governments tried to contain it, then fell, and the company that caused it vanished. Some say they uploaded themselves into satellite servers. Others say the founders became the first prime shades, entities so large they mimic entire cities. It's 2050 now. 13 years since the fall. The world didn't rebuild, it mutated, and here, only the strong survive. You don't live in the slums, you survive them. That's what Max Yeager told me when I was 14, when he found me half dead, hiding behind a fire-scorched vending machine, clutching a rusted kitchen knife like it was worth anything. It wasn't, but I survived anyway. My name is Ace Maestro. I'm 17 now. Born into ash and chaos. Born after the last rules broke. I live in the ash slums, bottom tier of what used to be Eden Spire, an old vertical city eaten alive by time, fire, and fear. The high-rise districts tower above us, glass citadels for the wealthy and wired. They breathe filtered air and sip engineered water while the rest of us kill each other over canned beans and bullets. Down here, ammo is currency, water is wealth, and sleep? That's suicide unless you've got a loaded weapon and a wall to your back. Every corner of the slums is a roulette wheel. You dodge raiders, avoid slave rings, duck corpo patrols who still think they're the law, and pray the infected don't hear you breathing. Because the infected haven't slowed down. They've evolved. The newest shades don't just run. They think. They hunt in packs. They whisper. Some mimic your loved ones. Some mimic you. I sleep in vents, rail cars, hollowed out stores. Max taught me that. How to move like smoke. How to track without leaving footprints. How to kill clean. How to never ever be seen unless you're already holding the knife. Max Yeager is a bounty hunter. Not the flashy kind, the real kind. He hunts high-tier shades, fast ones, smart ones, the kind that hold enough memory in their core to crash a city grid. The kind that scream with your mother's voice before they rip your throat out. He's not my father, not my friend, but he taught me everything I know, and I owe him everything. We collect cores, their currency, power, data. They hum when you touch them. They glow like frozen lightning. Some say they hold fragments of the minds they stole. Max once ripped one the size of his fist from a crawler that spoke in 6 languages, took 3 shotgun blasts and a blade through the eye. He traded that core for a month of ammo and 2 weeks behind a high-rise wall. I've only taken 3 shades, small ones, fast ones. No voice, no mimic, just hunger and rage. But I'm still standing. That counts for something. Every night I look up at the high-rise. I watch the lights, the blue flicker of drones, the reflection of a world that left us behind. I wonder if they remember what it smells like down here. If they remember the ash, the rot, the weight of being hunted by things that wear your face. I want to stand up there one day, not as a beggar, not as another stray from the gutter, but as something they have to acknowledge, as something they fear. Because I've learned the only real rule down here. Survive long enough, and even the monsters start to run from you. Welcome to Gen Z, where we don't grow old. We grow sharp, and we bleed for the bullets we earn. Clang, rattle, snap. The trap alarm went off, makeshift cans and broken bottles strung with old rope. North stairwell, entry point. Ace's eyes snapped open. No panic, just instinct. He was on his feet in one breath, blades strapped, crossbow slung, already moving before the creaking wood beneath his mattress had finished settling. His body moved with the rhythm of routine. Vault the railing, shift weight left to avoid the loose board, hit the stairs running. 1 flight, 2, 3. He hit the rooftop door like a bullet and never slowed. The wind slammed into him, and the city opened up like a graveyard below. No time to think. He sprinted, boots scraping rusted metal, dodging broken antennas and bird bones. Then, jump. 7 meters of crumbling rooftop air. No net, no fear, just speed. Ace landed with a roll, smooth, clean, and came up grinning. He turned just in time to see one of the shades make the leap. Too short, it screamed on the way down. Concrete caught it with a wet crack. Ace snorted, breath fogging. "Wish you had wings, huh?" He chuckled. Short, cold, like the air. Then he turned. 2 more shades, right there, grinning, waiting. They moved like shadows. Their eyes weren't glazed. They were aware. Ace muttered, "Seriously?" The blades came out, twin daggers, serrated in matte black, kissed with flame once to keep them quiet. He dropped into a low stance. They came fast. The first lunged. Ace sidestepped, slashing deep across its ribs. It spun with the hit, but Ace was already behind it. Blade through the base of the skull, quick, quiet, 1 down. The second was smarter. It faked a right swipe, then snapped at his throat. Ace ducked, sliced its arm clean at the joint, then spun, sweeping its legs with a kick that sent it slamming face first into a vent. He didn't wait. He pounced. Both blades sank into the back of its skull with a sickening crunch. The body twitched once, then stilled. Ace crouched beside the corpses, breathing light. He pulled a blade free with a wet shko, wiped it clean on a torn sleeve. Then he pulled out the knife Max gave him, the short one, reinforced for brain work. He dug into the first skull like a surgeon, working fast and precise. The crystal inside was small, about the size of a walnut, but it glowed faintly blue in the dark. Still warm. He held it up, blood glistening on his fingers. It pulsed faintly, like it knew it had been taken. Then he carved out the second. This one was brighter, sharper cut, cleaner echo, jackpot. Ace smiled, real this time. Nice. This'll pay for tonight's meal. He slipped both cores into a pouch, sealed it tight, and stood. Behind him, more cans rattled. Another alarm, another floor. He didn't flinch. Blades back in their sheaths, he stepped into the shadows of the stairwell. This was routine, this was life, this was Gen Z. The city was alive tonight, and it wasn't a good kind of alive. Ace bolted from the rooftop, boots slamming down a fire escape, rattling rusted pipes as he dropped from platform to platform. He hit the 3rd-story landing and jumped straight over the side, catching a broken sign with one hand and swinging onto a crumbling balcony. Behind him the shades howled, sharp, hungry sounds that bounced between the skeletal buildings like sonar. No time. Ace sprinted across the balcony's edge, then vaulted over a collapsed railing, landing in a twisted alley below. He ducked low, weaving between piles of scorched trash and collapsed fences, moving quick but silent, every step calculated, every breath measured. A shade lunged out of a side doorway, Too fast for normal infected, smarter, its eyes glinting. Ace dropped low, slid under its claw swipe, boots scraping concrete, then kicked off a half-buried car frame and vaulted a brick wall in one clean move. 1 second slower, and it would have had him. He didn't look back. He cut through a side alley, but froze mid-step. In the dim, broken streetlight ahead, they stood. Cannibal tribe. 6 of them, their bodies wrapped in filthy patchwork armor, stitched together with human skin and shattered bone plates. Each wore a necklace of human eyes, dried and shrunken into grotesque beads. Their faces were hidden behind masks, some made of animal skulls, others carved from scrap metal into twisted smiles. Ace didn't breathe. Didn't twitch. He backed up, slow as death, slipping behind a mountain of old crates stacked against a rotten brick wall. The crates creaked dangerously under his weight, but held. He crouched low, heart hammering once, then steady. He watched as the cannibals passed, dragging a bloodied body by the hair, laughing in raspy, broken voices. They didn't see him, but they could smell fear. Ace stayed motionless for 30 long minutes, breathing shallow, muscles cramping, eyes locked on the alley mouth like a wolf in a snare. Only when the last echo of footsteps faded into the night did he move. He slipped out of the crates, wound his way through back alleys, crawling over collapsed fences, wading through ankle-deep sludge, until finally, the safe zone gates loomed ahead. Black Market City. The last place you could call civilized in the ash slums, and that was pushing it. Steel sheet walls stacked 3 stories high, makeshift floodlights buzzing, armed guards scanning the broken streets. As Ace neared the checkpoint, a guard in a dented helmet lowered his rifle at him and barked, "State your business." Ace didn't flinch. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a small blood-stained pouch, and held up one of the cores, still faintly glowing blue. The guard grunted, waving him through. "Go on in. Don't cause trouble." Ace walked past the checkpoint into the chaos of Black Market City. It stank of oil, blood, and cooked meat. Vendors lined the streets, shouting over each other under tarp-covered stalls, grilled rat skewers. Tattered clothes salvaged from corpses, homemade knives and chipped handguns. Old-world junk passed off as relics. Ace kept his head down, hood up, moving quick past desperate faces and twitchy hands. This wasn't a place you lingered. Up ahead, past a cracked fountain filled with mud and bones, a massive shack stood like a crooked cathedral. Hand-painted boards nailed to the wall spelled it out. Food, ammo, water. 1 liter, 50 bullets. Ace climbed the rickety stairs and entered. The air inside was heavy with sweat and steel. Behind the counter, a man sat hunched over an old ledger, eyes hollow, shoulders slumped like he hated breathing, let alone working. He didn't even look up as Ace approached. "You here to buy or trade?" he grunted. Ace dropped the small core on the counter. The man finally glanced up. No smile, no welcome. He slid a battered ticket stub across the counter. "Number 47, wait over there." Ace pocketed the number and leaned against a rusted pillar, watching the desperate crowd shuffle around him, bartering, arguing, begging. 30 minutes later, a crackling speaker called out, "47, next!" Ace moved. Behind the heavy steel table now stood a different man. You couldn't miss him. Caleb the Moonchild. Tall, built like a fighter, gold teeth flashing under the 2 bright fluorescents. His eyes, one real, one cybernetic, locked onto Ace with unsettling intensity. For a long moment he said nothing, just stared. Until finally he broke into a grin. "Ain't it my favorite customer? Ace fucking Maestro? Welcome back to the pit. What can I do for you, kid?" Ace said nothing. He placed the small core first. Caleb pulled out a scratched magnifying glass, inspecting the crystal with theatrical slowness. He clicked his tongue, exaggeratedly disappointed. Standard blue core. Little cracked. Lower end. 100 rounds. Take it or leave it." Ace gave a small nod. No argument. He then reached into his jacket and slid out the second core. The bigger one, the one he carved from the second shade's skull. Caleb's eyes lit up the moment he saw it. He leaned in close, inspecting it like a jeweler eyeing a perfect diamond. the glow reflected in his gold teeth as he smiled wide. "Oh, this one's better, Ace. High charge, clean fracture. I'm feeling generous today." He straightened up, running a hand through his buzzed hair. 300 rounds, and a small bottle of clean water. Best offer you'll get before sundown. Ace nodded once. Business was business. Caleb snapped his fingers, and a runner hauled the ammo and the water to the second exit. No exchanges inside the market. Too many greedy eyes. Ace tucked the ticket into his jacket, pulled his hood low over his face, and disappeared into the crowd. Another day survived, another step closer to the dream. The air outside the market was thicker than usual. Smoke, sweat, and tension. That kind that clings to your skin and makes everyone's eyes shift nervously, even when there's no gun drawn. Ace had just crossed the checkpoint when he saw them. 3 bounty hunters, loud, armored, armed. The kind that killed more for clout than survival. Their gear was polished for show, not function. Plastic armor plates, old military jackets, goggles they barely used. They all had that smell. Cheap adrenaline and cheaper ego. The one in front, Sullivan, leaned against a barricade, arms crossed, flashing a gold tooth like it bought him respect. Well, well, look who finally crawled out of his sewer. Ace didn't stop walking. The little orphan slayer. "Where's your daddy, huh?" "Oh, right." One of the others snickered. "Max ain't here to wipe your tears this time, boy." They stepped in front of him. "You even hear us, Ace?" Sullivan asked, cocking his head. "Or is the silence part of your mysterious stray routine?" "Come on," the third one chimed in. "Say something. You always so damn quiet. Makes a guy feel like you think you're better or something." Ace stood still, not flinching, not twitching, just watching, like a blade waiting to be drawn. Sullivan leaned in, eyes narrowed. "We all know Max isn't coming back. Went off to play that rich man game and got himself turned into shade food. Thought he could win glory. Thought he was a legend." He leaned even closer. "What you gonna do without him, huh?" Ace said nothing, but in his mind, the words flooded. Why do people like this always need someone to step on? Is their life so miserably hollow that the only way they feel taller is by dragging others through the dirt? Trash. Scum. Rot-wearing skin. He didn't blink. He didn't breathe deep. He didn't move. But inside, he boiled. Then he finally spoke, voice calm, even, flat like steel on wet stone. "I don't want any trouble." The silence after that was thick, but it wasn't fear, it was disappointment. Sullivan grinned, mocked him. "You hear that, boys? No trouble. Big bad Ace has gone soft." Ace didn't react, because he had made a promise to Max, that he'd never be like the rest, that he'd only ever defend, never strike first. Max believed killing another human changed something in you, that once you crossed that line you never came back the same. Ace had seen enough to believe it too, but the temptation, it burned. It had been 3 months since Max vanished into the old district, a cursed war zone where shades swarmed like maggots in a graveyard. That's when the rumors started, about the game. A live broadcast event for the rich. 1,000 people sent into the infested zone. No rules, no support, just survival. Only the last 100 standing make it out. The reward, 10,000 bullets, 100 liters of clean water, citizenship inside the wall, the perfect trap. Bounty hunters swarmed in droves, chasing glory, ammo, fame. Most came back in body bags, if they came back at all. Max went, and never returned. Ace's fingers twitched at his side. The thought of drawing his daggers, opening Sullivan's throat right there, was almost too easy. He could already see the arterial spray, feel the way the air would shift, smell the panic from the other two. But he didn't. He remembered Max's words. "Don't let this place decide who you are, Ace. Make your own rules. Die by those, not theirs." Then, smack. A sudden open palm slap cracked across the back of Ace's head. Sharp, disrespectful. He didn't wince, but it snapped him back into the moment. Sullivan chuckled as he walked past him. What a loser. The other two laughed. Boots dragging down the alley. Ace took of his hood and stood still for a few seconds longer. Hands clenched, knuckles white, Then he walked. He pulled his hood on again and headed toward the south gate, toward the road that led to the old district, toward the place where legends were made, or ended. "I don't want any trouble," he repeated in his head. But deep down, something whispered, "What if trouble wants you?" The line moved like a funeral march. Dust kicked up with each slow step. The sun sat low behind the ash clouds, bleeding orange light across hundreds of tired bodies, all wrapped in scavenged armor and desperation. At the far end stood the gate, 30 feet high, plated with welded steel and rusted bone, humming with drone surveillance and death. 2 words were painted across the top in crude white letters: Entry Zone. Ace Maestro took his place at the very end, hood low, hands tucked inside his jacket, one boot scuffed, the knife Max gave him, taped to his ribs beneath the shirt, close enough to feel his heartbeat in the blade. He didn't speak, didn't need to. Behind him, 2 bounty kids argued over ammo prices. Ahead, a merc chewed glass, spitting blood between his boots. To his left, a teenager with shaking hands tried to hide the tremble by adjusting his shoulder holster again and again. Ace didn't flinch, didn't blink, just stared forward. A screen mounted to the wall above the gate flashed to life. Grainy footage, screaming. A woman in a gas mask swinging a metal pipe into a shade's skull. Another person dragged into a collapsing stairwell by something with too many limbs. Text scrolled across the top. Live feed. Survival trial round 9. 817 eliminated. The teen next to Ace turned and walked away. No one said anything. The line shifted. 1 step forward. Somewhere nearby, a vendor yelled, "Water ration, 5 bullets. Get rich or die trying, that's the game." The phrase hung in the air. Ace's head tilted slightly. Not a smile, not even a twitch of the lips, just a stillness. He had heard that line before. The smell of burnt oil. Max, standing on the roof of a skeletal apartment complex, lighting a cigarette with a shaky hand. He never smoked unless something was wrong. No words that day, just that look, the one that held 10 years of blood behind it. The rifle on his back was clean. His boots were tight-laced, the kind of lacing you only do when you know you're not coming home. Max didn't say goodbye. He just tapped Ace on the chest and handed him a blade. Then walked off the ledge and disappeared down the stairwell. Back in the present, Ace's hand slid under his jacket. Fingertips brushed the leather grip. Still smooth, still his. He exhaled slowly through his nose. The sound barely audible. The screen above shifted. New footage. A player screaming, a shade mimicking his voice seconds after, echoing back his dying words like a recording glitch. Ace didn't look away. The line moved again. At the gate, a guard held up a hand. "Name?" Someone ahead answered. Stumbled. Was shoved through the turnstile. Ace stepped forward. No one beside him. No one behind him close enough to touch. He was alone in that space, like the air had moved around him. He looked at the gate, then at the sky, then at the dust on his boots. He reached into his jacket, pulled the knife an inch free, checked the edge, and slid it back. Quiet, almost reverent. Then, finally, stepped forward. The screen flickered again. Names of the next contestants scrolled, but Ace didn't look at his. Max had walked through this gate, and somewhere, on the other side of the zone, he still might be breathing. Ace gripped the knife tighter, not for the prize, not for the bullets, not for the water, not for the fame. Get rich or die trying. The vendor called again. Ace disappeared through the gate. Not rich, not afraid, just ready.